Hey there, welcome to Finding Fabulous, where this next chapter is about discovering what truly lights you up. I'm Meghan.
I'm Kristin. Through the stories we share and the incredible women we meet, we talk about life pivots, next chapters, and that moment when you feel your spark again.
Let's find our mojo and light it up. Hey, Patrice.
Hello,
We are
Meghan.
excited to have you on our podcast. Patrice Meagher is the founder and CEO of MilkMate, a pioneering breast pumping as a service company transforming how workplaces support working parents.
We need more of that.
Is so needed. She's a mission-driven entrepreneur and mother of 4, building category-defining solutions at the intersection of health, workplace, culture, and equity. Okay, well, that all sounds pretty fabulous and amazing. So we like to start the podcast with a question the question is basically, can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how it led you to where you are now with MilkMate?
Absolutely. So I spent the first 20 years of my career working in commercial real estate, and I think it's a critical sort of piece to what MilkMate has become. And so the background on that is that I spent the first 5 years in real estate working on the landlord side in Philadelphia. I moved to New York in 2007, joined the brokerage side. I mostly represented landlords throughout Manhattan. So I've done millions of square feet worth of leasing. I very much understand the tenant mindset, the landlord mindset, design of space, cost of space, all the different things that have happened within commercial real estate, why it's important to companies. And while I was working in commercial real estate, I had 4 children. I breastfed all of them. And when I had my first son in 2009, there was no laws in place at that time for providing private pumping space. And this was nothing against my employer at the time. It was totally industry agnostic. So whether you were working in real estate or a lawyer or a doctor or a nurse or a teacher, you were pumping in IT closets and storage rooms and bathrooms and less than ideal situations. I didn't make it very long pumping with my first child because it was so cumbersome and stressful. Fast forward to my other 3 kids, the laws had changed. My company had renovated their space, but I still had to walk up 3 flights of stairs through a whole bullpen of men. Commercial real estate's mostly all men, just to get to a room to realize I forgot a part. Now, if you forget a part when you're pumping, you can't actually do it. It's a whole domino effect of issues. You're late for a meeting, you're leaking milk. And I pumped off and on for about 8 years. And 2 important things happened as it pertained. A lot of things happened within those 8 years, obviously, but 2 important things as it pertains to MilkMate happened. One was that I became this super expert in the efficiencies and inefficiencies of pumping in the workplace and what you can do to make it better, and became like the lead of the secret society of pumpers within my office. And then 2, and probably more importantly, I became the loudest person in the room helping landlords, architects, tenants design best-in-class wellness rooms. And I couldn't believe there wasn't a better service offering to make it easier to pump at work, because there was so much discussion all the time happening around what amenities can we have? What should we be doing with the bathrooms? Where should they be located? What should we be doing with the pantry, with snacks, with anything? And I knew just how inefficient this pumping process was and how personal and important it was to many women. And I couldn't believe there wasn't a better understanding of it. But truly, no one on the HR side, the workplace side, the corporate real estate side, the design side is trained in lactation spaces. They just shouldn't be. There's nothing that came before it. And so that's really where MilkMate was born. I wanted to make it possible for women to bring nothing with them at all in order to pump at work.
Nice work. I feel like you've been part of a movement, and that's really important.
Definitely. We are trying to, we are rallying the troops for a movement.
Yes, yeah. I'm so excited. We have 6 daughters between us, and I'm so excited for the next generation of women.
And it's important for the sons too, right? We always say that the drip effect is very real. And not only are we helping the women that are pumping, but we're helping their teammates, their partners, their companies, their productivity at the companies, the retention, the recruitment, the advancement. So the drip effect, pun intended, is very, very real.
Yes,
100%.
absolutely.
And I like your use of the word culture and equity, because we know those are things today. So the workplace is getting better. It's better for work-life balance.
We're trying. Yes. We're at battle, but we're working towards it.
It is a process. It is a process. Thank you for the real estate background, because I do think that's important. And setting you up for this next phase of your life, was there the moment, I mean, you got to this, but was there a moment when you thought that there has to be a better way? And what did that look like when you took that leap? Like, what were your first steps?
Well, there was like the moment that I knew that there could be like, well, when you're starting something, obviously you have to know that the problem exists, right? And then why are you the right person to solve the problem? And it really had to do with that, like just intersection of real estate experience, sales experience, and then also just being a working parent and like being obsessed by efficiencies, not just with pumping, but all types of efficiencies, like catch the earlier train, bring your lunch to work, have coffee with a friend while you talk about a deal. Like there's all these ways to make your life more efficient. That's how you make the life of the working parent work. But there was a couple light bulb moments during meetings where we were talking about design of space or amenities and things that would work or wouldn't work. And I told my husband a long time ago about what the idea was. And then we really marinated over it and socialized it just between the two of us for a really long time before we took the leap, because truly I loved my job. I worked on an awesome team. I worked at a great company. I worked with some of the best clients in New York City on really, really critical, important New York City real estate deals that were important for the city. And so it was very exciting. There was a lot of ability to make a good living. And my husband and I have always been partners in that. And people always ask, after COVID, women aren't going to go back to work. But I'm like, no, I work because I need to provide for my family, but also because I want to. But I got to a point in 2019 where it was the best year I ever had from a productivity standpoint, but I was completely drowning at home and I was completely drowning at work. And I am the type person that if a ball falls at work, it makes me insane. If a ball falls at home, it makes me insane. And my life was a constant juggle. And it was so stressful that I got
And
to the
exhausting,
point.
right? Exhausting all your energy. And
Yeah, I was dropping balls, which because there was just literally not enough time in the day to get done everything that I wanted to get done on the professional standpoint and on the home front. And so I decided at the end of 2009, and truly, like, because we were talking about MilkMate for so long, it was something we really wanted to do, but I couldn't really get off the hamster wheel because I was so busy with my job. So it was like very hard to think about quitting. I was like, I grew up in a house where like, you do not quit, like you never quit ever. And so that was like very much weighing on me as well. But I got to the point where I could not make it work. And I was like, the odds are in my favor. Like I have an amazing partner. I have healthy children. I have a great family unit on both sides. I have the best in-laws in the world. Most people don't say that. I have a lot of help. I have great childcare. But so if I'm not making it work, what about the people where the odds are not in their favor? They're single parents. They've got a sick child, a sick parent, other things that are happening. And so that's really what pushed me over the edge. I was like, this is not sustainable anymore. And so early 2020, I said I needed to take a break or a sabbatical, and it took me 3 months to unwind the work that I was working on. And my last day in the office was March 6th, 2020. So
Wow.
that's really
Timing.
interesting because then I became like a teacher at home for my children, but it really gave me that window of time to explore and do all the research and development around whether or not we could find the solution to this problem. The good thing with a logistical problem is that there's usually a solution to it. So
Yes.
that gave us the opportunity, but it wasn't until the end of 2019 that I really was like pushed over the edge. And I obviously didn't know COVID was going to happen, but it lined up that way.
yeah, I mean, and the fact that you had your moment, but then you took your unwind time down with your current commitment to your job.
Yeah.
You were able to really wrap your head around.
This new concept.
Yeah.
So that sort of leads us to what surprised you the most about being a founder and CEO when you dove into starting MilkMate?
Well, I think the biggest surprise is that like there is always like imposter syndrome. People think like, oh, how did Sarah Blakely start Spanx? Or how did all these different founders do this? And like, really, it's just taking that first step. So, and also, I think what really surprised me is that so many people were like so generous with their time and with their advice. And when you work in a very competitive sales environment like commercial real estate, you have to be very tight with your information. And what I was very surprised by was just how many people I reached out to on the medical device side, because we are a medical device that needed FDA clearance, on the fundraising side. And so there was so much that if I had known what was going to go into having hardware manufactured, cleared by the FDA, installed and serviced, I would still be doing commercial real estate today. But I was very pleasantly surprised with so many people giving me time and like guidance. And then frankly, my husband and I didn't tell anyone for a really long time about what we were doing. My family knew that we were thinking of something, but it was very surprising. Obviously, it's very different than commercial real estate, but I also was very pleasantly surprised with all the support on the fundraising side once people understood what the concept was, because it's a unique concept not everyone understands or talks about. So it was a pleasant surprise to see how many men and women were generous with their time and their belief, really, frankly.
Yes. No, I think it's an amazing concept. What does getting FDA approved look like?
Well, that could be like a podcast in and of itself.
Right.
But that just goes back to like the number one piece of advice that I give people when they're starting is like, I don't know what just doesn't matter what the product is, find people that know more than you do, that are smarter than you about the process. And so we just were very deliberate about finding people that have been through the process before, specifically with breast pumps. So the woman who we hired to help us with our FDA clearance has had 15 years worth of experience in the breast pump industry. And so she just understood the exact process and we followed the exact process. So we did everything exactly as we were supposed to. We did all the required testing and we were, I would say, overly conservative with the process so that we could get clearance. And that was a learning journey. I know way more about it now than I did when I started. And we've continued to get other pieces and parts of our product and service offering cleared by the FDA. And so it's easier now, but it's like really just finding experts that can help you. But it's a very long process and there's a lot of testing that goes into it. And there's a lot of, and you have to do it the right way, because once you submit, if you don't submit the right way, they're going to come back and ask questions or push you to do it the right way. And so it's just finding experts that can help you.
Patrice, just really quickly, can you break out that timeline? Like how long did it take to put together your team, to get the approval, to get the capital, whatever was the process?
Oh yeah, I mean, well, it sort of all was happening at the same time. So 2020, my husband and I did a lot of the research and development ourselves. We bootstrapped it at that time. So we hired our engineers, our manufacturing consultants, some attorneys to help us, the FDA consultants. And then 2022, once we realized or really believed that we had this product offering that we could submit for FDA clearance, that's when we raised our seed round and hired the first team member to come on board. We then prepared in the spring and summer for FDA submittal. We submitted in September of 22 while we were fundraising. We closed our series or seed round in December of 2022. We heard back from the FDA in December, which they had some additional questions and we had to do some additional testing, and we received FDA clearance in March of 23, which gave us the ability to go pilot, continue to build the team. 24 was then all about sales process and understanding who we were selling to, what the sales process looked like. That gave us proof of concept, proof of market, proof that there was a tremendous market for it, which meant that we really needed to hire additional people. So in 25, we raised our Series A so that we could build the sales team. As we build the sales team, we need to build the operations team more. And so that's what we're executing on right now in 26 is continuing to build the team on both the ops and sales side.
I mean, this is amazing, Patrice, what you've created in a short amount of time. And how many employees are there presently at MilkMate?
So there's 12 full-time employees, but I always like to say there's way more because those FDA consultants that I referenced that we hired in 21, like they're still very much on board. Our attorneys are still very much on board. Our manufacturing consultants I worked with when we visited Asia last summer, it's the same manufacturer. So I always like to say we're really like a much bigger team than 12 people. It's more like 20 to 30 people that are contributing and engineers to our software engineers, our actual med tech engineers. So there's a lot of people that we work with on all of our accounting consultants and our software that we implement and our data that we use to get to the way that our organization can be as efficient as possible is really like a much bigger team.
Right. Right. Wow. So I know that we talked about this doesn't only help women, it helps, it takes a village sort of mentality, right? But I feel like logistically, this is such an incredible thing to help women. But I also think that emotionally, it has to just take such a weight off the woman, the entire family, getting into the city, the pump, all the things. So how has this journey shown you the impact of making such meaningful changes in women's lives, families' lives, both mentally and physically? Have you gotten feedback? I'm sure it.
No, I mean, so we track all the usage based because we track the inventory. So we're able to see how much usage is occurring across all of our clients. We don't know who the women are, but by tracking that usage, first off, we're able to report back to the employer who is our customer. The employer pays for everything. Just how much impact that what the usage looks like. We save a woman 15 minutes per session. So we're able to say, you've had X amount of sessions that have been logged this quarter. This is 50 hours worth of productivity, this many work days, this many gallons of milk. This is what the women are telling us they like. This is what they don't like because they speak to us directly. They don't have to speak to their HR folks or their boss about their breast shield size or anything else. They're speaking directly to us. We provide tutorial videos.
Important.
That's an important piece.
Yeah, very important. So like the service part of it. So what MilkMate is that we provide like the pump, the parts, all of our parts come pre-assembled, pre-sterilized, ready for immediate use. So there's zero setup at home, zero setup at work, zero breakdown at work, zero breakdown at home. On average, most women are pumping 2 to 4 times daily. So we're saving them 60 minutes of time per day. So that's one very measurable impact, ROI. So making them more productive at work, more productive at home. But we very much are hearing from testimonials from our users that this is a major mental load relief, that we've helped them recover from postpartum depression because the only way they feel connected with their child is through breastfeeding. We just recently launched Pumping Perks, which is discount codes to all different types of accessories like diapers and Nutrafol, which is like all these different supplements that really help working parents. And that's just not pumping moms, that's working dads too, that can provide these accessories and items to their wives and partners and things like that too. And so to take it another step further, we also hear from women who are way past their pumping journey that are just like, I feel seen. I'm so happy that my company's implementing this. And really all of our customers, like the most common thread, they're all different industries, are just organizations that are great places to work. So like those are our customers. They already care about their employees. They mostly already have a good setup because we can elevate the room further from a furniture perspective as needed. We're the only turnkey solution. So we can provide everything that's needed to pump at work, but we meet the client where they are. So we can be pump parts and service. We can elevate the room a little bit further with furniture. We can provide a pod as necessary for like manufacturing, retail, places like that. But the idea that we are just making everything that much easier for the user, but also for the customer. Because again, I said earlier in the podcast, there's no training on what lactation suite should look like. So if you're in charge of facilities at a major company or workplace experience, like they want advice around the ways to make the wellness room work as efficiently as possible. And we do all of that onboarding and education and marketing and things like that too.
I mean, having lugged a breast pump kit through subways back in the 90s, I certainly appreciate that piece alone. And Meghan and I both spent a moment talking to our younger daughters because I love your idea of getting this feedback. And of course, the generation upcoming and some of the, which I'd love you to comment on, like my daughter Caitlin was like, it seems like part of a movement. It seems so significant emotionally too.
So significant emotionally.
And she's asking the question, which you just answered, are there additional amenities or resources provided when you're in that space or when you're connected to this service to allow the whole family to feel educated? And
so through our software, like that's where women track their inventory. We provide 8 sizes of kits, which is like most breast pumps come with 2 sizes of kits. So we like to say we're the most equitable work grade pump on the market. And so when they scan to say that they've used it, that's where they can access our customer service, user service, and they can ask questions. We send blogs tutorial videos, things like that. And so by being BPAS, breast pumping as a service, as we evolve our product offering, our software, add additional resources, additional partnerships, all of our existing customers get access to that. So we're constantly trying to make this an A++ user experience and customer experience. And we will continue to provide that for all of our existing customers. It's not like you buy one thing and then like we disappear. The service stays with the company. And that's really important to us because once we're implemented in one location with a company, expansion usually happens really quickly because they see the way that user experience and the customer experience occurs.
Right.
Right. And they have wellness goals and, as we said, culture goals. So this is really in line with a lot of corporate thinking today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some,
No.
but yes. Not as many
Right.
as you would like. But yeah.
Again, this is a movement, but thank you for being
Being a part of it.
Yes.
Right. My daughter, Isabella, who works for a healthcare tech startup. Okay, so my daughter had a few interesting questions. So I'll just throw them out there. I feel like you've answered a few of them. So she said, from a business standpoint, what does your sales strategy look like to get into more offices, especially smaller ones? Do you have any plans to expand into public areas like airports and things like that?
Great question, Bella.
Yeah, she's she's very into the startup
Yes.
mentality. What was your experience? What was your experience fundraising like? You spoke about, I guess you didn't really get into that, but and then her last comment, which I think is a really important one that you did touch upon, is women's health, postpartum needs have really been an underinvested area in
Right.
venture capital.
Yeah.
And she feels as though hearing about you, she was just really excited we were coming on the podcast because I think it's something that she's passionate about as a young woman who's 28 years and
I mean, I
sees
would say that we get so many women that come to our onboarding sessions that are like not even dating anyone, but are just like very interested to see what their company offers. And so that's why we always say that it's a recruitment and advancement tool too. And most of our customers have people that have been working at these organizations for a long time because they provide really good benefits. So always very mission aligned. So I think the first question was about sales strategy. So originally we were very focused on like the HR benefits side. We typically work more closely with like corporate real estate, workplace strategy, facilities operation, who are really like managing the actual physical space. And then eventually we will be partners with the HR stakeholders who really need to market this and educate this. We want big customers, and I'll answer the question about the small customer too. But when we look at places, our ideal customer, it's all the best places to work. So like, for example, Forbes comes out with a 500 best places to work on an annual basis. Those are our ideal customers. That's who we're trying to get in with. We don't discriminate though. So the market for employers is huge, whether it's college campuses or high school education, hospitals, traditional office space, things like that. We do have offerings for much smaller organizations because the recent Pump Act that passed in 2023 as a federal law requires employers of any size, whether you're 2 employees or above, to provide a private separate pumping space that is not a bathroom with close proximity to running water and the time in which to do it. So if you're a 5,000 square foot tenant or employer, you still have to provide this if it's requested. And so we have options that smaller organizations could subscribe to as well. And so we have full service enterprise offerings, and then we have more self-service e-commerce type offerings for much smaller organizations. And then I think her third question was around the public arena. Right now, we are really, really focused on the workplace. We are B2B. We're not looking to replace the woman's at-home pump. We are very focused on creating the best possible experience within the workplace because we do restock, because we do provide additional inventory, because we do speak with the women. In the public arena, we don't really know what that management would look like right now. So like, if you see pods within the airport, like we could certainly partner with them, but tracking the inventory in a situation like that would be very difficult. But there are other public arenas, like for example, shopping malls. There's tons of retail there where the women who work in that retail need places to pump. So we do see sports arenas, places like that, where there are lactation spaces where it's a little bit more manageable. But for now, the market is so big on the work front, on the B2B front. That's really where, and I would give this advice to any sort of founder. It's like, you should really focus on your hero product in the beginning and making sure that like whatever your mission is for that year, that you stick to it. Like whatever your goals are, we are very stringent about coming up with our annual goals, what our budget looks like to make sure that we are focused and we're not going down a path that's not going to get us to what our ROI looks like. And because we're still learning so much from the user and the customer, we have to be so hands-on. And I think the public arena just doesn't give us the ability to do that right now. We just installed our first hospital for the employees, not for the patient.
Wow.
But we'll see what that looks like. So we're still like gathering so much information.
I'll just ask a question based on expansion. This is silly, I suppose, coming from me. My dad worked for the FDA a long time ago, but
Yeah.
do they have restrictions on where you can operate or what that looks like, how that's set up?
Well, I mean, we're FDA cleared to sell within the United States right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the guideline.
Yeah, and there's other organizations in other countries. We are also cleared to sell within Mexico right now. But if you want to sell within other countries, there's other clearances that you have to go through. The FDA is the gold standard. So it helps that we've done all the testing, that we've done all the submittal to it. But there is a process that you have to go to sell in other countries as well. But we can sell anywhere in the United States right now. So I think she asked about the fundraise, right?
Women's health postpartum it's been a very underinvested area in venture capital.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of investment. She's right. A lot of investment in fertility and that sort of thing. But there has been less investment in any sort of
Support or
like childcare or there's been a lot of investment in feeding though. Like, and when you talk about like formula and baby products and accessories, there's definitely been a lot of B2C investment. There hasn't been as much investment in products like me. But when I first fundraised the first time around, a lot of VC firms would say, like, we're only interested in software. I didn't really have a software component at that time. There's a lot of complications when you have hardware that has to get installed that's cleared by the FDA. So VC firms might necessarily be as interested. Because we are modeled similar to a service company now, although I would argue we're way more valuable because how do you value a company? You value a company based on when they get to profitability, the ability to grow and impact. And we really strike all three of those very strongly.
yes.
But VCs just have certain valuations they have to prove out to their partners. I've had amazing conversations with VC firms who, again, have all been very generous with their time and made fabulous introductions. I just haven't taken any VC money to date. It's all been friends and family, and that's worked really well for me at this time. Also, we are unique in the sense that we're a women's health organization. We are a medical device, but we're real estate tech in a way too. So we're a unique service offering. That's why we call ourselves BPaaS, Breast Pumping as a Service, because it's just a unique type of offering. So that VC firms haven't seen.
Yeah. You're the first of your kind, which is
I think so. Yeah.
pretty amazing.
I mean,
yeah.
there's hundreds of breast pump companies on the market, and there are plenty of breast pumps that try to sell into the workplace, but not with the same service offering that we provide.
Exactly. Because you cover all three. Okay. So we have a mutual friend, a fabulous friend in common, Fredo. So I'm giving you a little again, right?
Yes.
And she mentioned to me on one of our long walks that you have a great coffee pot analogy.
Oh.
So we would love for you to share that with us and our audience presents.
I mean, very often when I'm meeting, or in the beginning, especially when we were meeting with, frankly, male clients or potential investors who had, and in all fairness to them, they've never pumped. Like, I'm not assuming that they understand what it's like to pump, but I had to figure out a way to explain to folks who have never pumped what it exactly is like to pump in the market. Because very often, or in the workplace, very often we'll hear from people, oh, we have a room, we're good. And I'm like, but do you actually know what happens in the room? And so I'll say, imagine if in order to have a cup of coffee at work, you needed to pack up your coffee maker in the morning, put it in a duffel bag, bring it to work with you, get on the train, go to work, get up from your desk, walk into a small little closet, take your clothes off, set up the coffee maker, brew the coffee. But if you forget the filter,
Great analogy. It sounds brutal.
but if you forget the filter or the coffee beans, you can't actually brew the coffee. Now you're late for a meeting, you're leaking coffee from your nipples. It's a whole thing. By the way, you need to clean all those parts again. Do it 2 or 3 more times throughout the rest of the day. pack up the coffee maker at the end of the day, bring the coffee home in a little cooler, feed it to your baby, bring the coffee maker home, wash all the parts, pack it all up, and do it all over again the next day. I'm like, what if that is what it was like for you to have a cup of coffee at work? And they're all like, oh my God. It's like you have to make it relatable to people for them to understand what. And like, the truth is, like, coffee is critical in the workplace. Like, I mean, I went for a long time with my team where like at 2:00 every day, we would be like, let's get out of the office. Let's like just go have a chat about this. Let's walk to Starbucks. Let's do this. Or like, let's walk over to the coffee station. You run into people. Like, I think there's like articles around like the money that Jamie Dimon just spent on like coffee alone at the new tower, because he understands that people need, like, they need it to operate. You need bathrooms to like, you need to provide bathrooms. You need to provide toilet paper. You need to provide fuel for these people. And this is just science. Like, these women are feeding their children. It's like very personal to them. And again, we're not anti-formula. We are pro-mom, pro-working parent, but that is the movement we are on. But it's not that hard to provide solutions that make it easier for women to pump or work. And you would never open an office space, I don't care what size you are, without providing coffee.
No, you would never. That's quota. There's
or
a coffee
water or access to a bathroom. You just wouldn't do it.
No, and I love that my kids now, I have 3 kids out in the working world. And at their age too, it's everybody has the options, the coffee options, right? The cold brew, you can have the iced coffee, you can have the hot coffee.
Smoothies, the whole thing. Yeah.
The whole 9.
Definitely
Exactly.
elevated experience.
So a big theme in our podcast is women supporting women, finding purpose, what lights them up, what brings them joy in this second act, so to speak. So do you feel as though MilkMate has given you that in a different way than, say, corporate real estate?
Yeah. I mean, look, I loved my job in corporate real estate. Truly, I love sales in general. That's where I was a waitress all through college. I consider that the best training of anything you could possibly do from a sales perspective. If you want to be in sales, if you want to be in the service industry in any way, shape, or form, you should work in the service industry in college. If you want to understand people, I feel strongly about that. And commercial real estate is really exciting. It's a really exciting career to have. But my obsession, even when I was in commercial real estate, I helped found the local women's network, has always been, I've always had a passion for helping other women, whether they're in college or on my team. And so, yes, now when I see that, like, the feedback that we get from these women, that we're able to help them do not only what they need to do, but what they want to do. And like, truly, we are just trying to help people be the best version of themselves. And so that is what I say to my children every day. I want you to be the best version of yourself. That's what I'm trying for my teammates at MilkMate. And that's what I really believe in for these women that we're helping, is like, let us help you be the best version of yourself and set you up for success. And there's so many frictions that come into play as a working parent that if we can try to eliminate those frictions, we'll help these women be the best version of themselves. And yes, it makes me cry when I see the feedback.
Oh, I have goosebumps. I love that. That's really...
These young moms can stay in the workplace and be productive. The family life is so important to have that foundation. It's both sides, right?
Definitely. I mean, look, when I get feedback from women that work at my old company about the way that we're helping them, that's the thing that gets me, like, really gets me. But we obsess over every piece of feedback we get, because we get negative feedback too. When you're building a product, we started out with 2 sizes of kits. Now we have 8 sizes of kits. That really came directly from the women. So we want to hear everything. We want to hear the good, the bad, what they don't like, what they think we could do better. We've just changed one part on our breast pump kits to make it more efficient and perform better. And we will continue to do that. And we're obsessed. We are literally obsessed by where we track the time for which we respond to a customer complaint. We track the resolution time. We track how much percentage people would recommend it to a friend. So hearing from the women that this is helpful to them. And honestly, the thing that like really gets me the most is when I'm selling to a customer and a woman will say, oh my God, I wish that I had this when I was doing this, but then they still do it for the next generation.
Right. So we're big on that.
That's my favorite thing that I hear from a customer. It's 100% when they say it, I know they're going to do it. And I'm like, they're the type people, but there are still people out there that will pay it forward for other people. We do get pushback on the other side. There is resentment that people have. I mean, look, I have resentment. I have generational resentment from the way that I had to work when I was in my 20s and the way the world is now. But it feels better to work to make it better for the next generation. So,
Improvements.
100%.
And there's always the positive and the negative. There's also a lot of additional pressures on the younger generation, right? We all have our kids. Between us here, we have 13 kids.
Yeah.
Patrice, with your 2 daughters, and we both have between us 3 each. I mean, there's a lot of good feedback that comes from both sides, like you said. I mean, whether it's pushback or just acceptance from the older generation, and then the younger generation certainly has a voice and likes to have a voice. I mean,
100%.
our daughters, just before speaking with you now, got a lot of feedback. I mean, there was energized conversation.
No, that excites me because it means that
we're so proud and happy that we were having you on. They're not like that with every guest, but I think that's something that's very meaningful in terms of how their work-life balance is going to look in the future, really.
No,
and truly.
totally. And I feel like the biggest advice that I give anyone, whether it's a woman or a man, is that you have to advocate for yourself. And so, but that's not how we were raised.
No, we were not.
In the workplace. And so
when you said people feel seen, women feel seen, I think that's important
because a lot of the return to work journey is a very, very much a silent struggle. So again, when some employers will say, we don't hear any complaints. It's like, well, of course you don't hear any complaints because people, they don't want you to know that they're taking this time to go do this. They don't want you to know they're going into that room to take their clothes off. There is we hear from a lot of clients, the fact that they don't have to pick up their bag in front of everyone, walk the 2 minutes down to eliminate any sort of confusion about what they're going to do. It's now they can just get up from their desk. They might be going to get a cup of coffee. They might be going to a meeting. They might be going to a conference room. They might be going to the bathroom. And then before they know it, they're back at their desk and no one really knows where they were. But if you pick up that duffel bag, everyone knows you're going into that room to take your clothes off.
That's right. They're going to the toilet and sitting on the toilet to do it.
Right.
I mean, just the conditions of what it used to be like.
Yeah, totally.
You mentioned shame as you're referring to.
Well, and I think what I'm realizing when I read a little bit about MilkMate, and I think what I'm realizing really and truly after this conversation is that initially I think I thought, oh, this is more of a physical, this is helping them physically. They're not schlepping it into the office. But really, it's as emotional as it is physical. So
it's I forgot the part. Just so you know, you can't buy a breast pump part at CVS or any of those places. And My Baby doesn't exist anymore. So if you forget a part, you are borrowing a part from somebody else, you're going home. And that mental load of being able to walk out the door in the morning without one less thing to worry about, one less thing to worry about, one less thing to worry about. We hear that all the time. And so, truly, there is no preparation for that return to work period. When you are visibly pregnant, there's people might hold the door for you more, whatever. You come back from maternity leave, there's a big group of people that don't know that you've just came back from this big life change. Maybe you had a C-section, maybe you had a kid that was in the NICU, maybe it was more emotional. There's so many layers to it. And,
that's a really
the mental load is what is really a critical part of it. Because that's why the women are leaving the workforce. They're not leaving because of the physical load. They're leaving because they can't mentally make it work. They're not failing. It's a literal impossibility sometimes to make it all work.
It's too much. And you know what? From the business perspective, like you said, goals of recruitment and retention. I mean, that's...
Yeah. And look, it's not good right now. The women who are at senior levels, are still leaving the workforce at high percentages, especially after having their first child. So there is, and I'm not I think stay-at-home mom is harder than working. I think all moms are working moms. It's all equal. There's pluses and minuses on both sides, but the system still is not working. So that's the movement that we're part of. That's where we're rallying the troops.
The movement to change that and make it better.
I like the way you said it's not working. It's not just making accommodations that are above the normal standard. It's reaching up to something that's normal and livable.
Yeah, this is not a nice to have. This is a need to have. This is and look, companies that are getting people back to the office are providing unreasonable hospitality. It's a great book. It's just the truth is
great book.
The truth is real. If your goal is to improve diversity and recruitment and retention, you need women at those high level positions. You need women at the table because they are the consumer. So they're the ones that are consuming most of the products on the market. And as we continue to watch what's happening with the economy, you need women at that senior executive role, I think.
Amen to that.
I was just going to say, amen to
Yeah.
that. I love that.
That's
I
perfect.
think you are 100% right. So wait, we have our final question.
Final.
Patrice, yeah, we just wrap with this question.
I love a final. Okay. Yeah.
I love a good final. Exactly.
Yeah.
Whether it's at a bar, whether it's on a podcast with you.
Closing time. No, I will not say. For the woman who hasn't started finding her fabulous yet, what would you tell her?
That's like such a hard question because I feel like so many women like of our generation are having that battle right now, or battle's not the right word. They're like, or this introspective discussion with themselves. And I would say that A, don't be so hard on yourself, but B, try to look at what you're good at and not what you like necessarily. Like a lot of times I think when people think about what they want to do with their career, whether they're your daughters, right? Like right out of college, or there's someone who's like trying to re-enter the workforce or re-enter something or add something to their life. They very often will say, okay, this is what I like. So maybe this is what I should go do. But I always say like, what are you really good at? And so like, I have some friends who I'm like, their executive functioning skills are like out of control, just the way that they manage their lives and their children and the nonprofits that they're involved with and the schools that they're involved with. I'm like, they should be using those talents in some capacity to improve efficiency somewhere. So A, it's something that you're passionate about, but that also you're good at for whatever reason. So I would take a really hard look at like what your talents are and then say, how can we use these talents to solve a problem or to add value someplace? And I think sometimes I'm like, there's so many places you could add value, whether it's like just ripping the Band-Aid and going to work in an office in any capacity just to like see what you like from like a 9-to-5 perspective. Or I have a lot of friends that have opened stores or flower businesses or things later in life, but they took something that they were good at and then they made it a business. And so I would say, take a look at what you're good at, what makes you happy, where you can add value, and then just don't be afraid to do it. Just do it and ask people advice around it.
Just do it.
Yeah,
Just
if I
do
think
it.
about the women who do my pots, like I'm sure they were just like really good at doing flower pots at one point, and now they have like a crazy business. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
honestly, I'm always looking for someone who's better at cleaning my carpets, and there's not that many good people out there. I'm like, someone should do that. You know, like whatever. Who's better at managing a construction project than a woman, not a man? I'm like, you could make a lot of money if you manage a construction project with your executive functioning skills. Like there are so many different businesses out there that can be improved from an efficiency standpoint. And I think that women are the people to do that, frankly. So
I love it. Women are the people to do it. We know that there are literally a million podcasts out there, and so many of them are so, so good. We'd love for you to tell your friends, family, and all the women in your life to join us in finding fabulous and lighting it up.
Yes, share your stories with us by DMing and following us on Instagram, TikTok, and all your social media at Finding Fabulous Pod. And please subscribe, like, and share wherever you get your podcasts.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.